What's up, YouTube? I'm Chuck the Liberty Geek. BioWare, please stop making games. Nobody likes you after Mass Effect 3. Let's talk some anarchy. What's up, guys? I'm going to be redoing last week's topics because, well, I really want to get them out there, and last week was a total disaster. I have a special guest with me this week who can actually, I can hear him and see him. And
Thank God, praise the Lord.
Right? So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, especially since you can't get your lower third to work right now. So, who are you? Tell us a little bit what you're part of, because you are also a Voluntary Virtues Network host.
That's absolutely correct. My name is Seamus Coughlin. I'm a computer animator. I actually started my own business probably at the beginning of this year, and I'm a libertarian, and I'm really huge in the sort of technological and libertarian scenes. It's pretty much my two favorite things, and so when I heard about the Voluntary Virtues Network, of course, I was really excited to get on board with the whole thing. And the show I host is called Christianarchy. I host it with Corey McHale, Danny Lawson, and Ty Conrady, and yeah, it's just essentially a show about the correlations between strict biblical Christian principles and a voluntarist society. But this week, instead of that, I'm taking a break from the discussion on religion and voluntarism, and we're talking about geeky stuff and voluntarism, which is also satisfactory because I love that whole scene.
Well, I think you're in for an interesting treat. As I mentioned last week, when it comes to geekery, I'm more into, tabletop role-playing games, anime, some music here and there. Like, depending on the music, some music can be considered geeky, right?
Yeah.
Comic books, save for a few exceptions, like the old Star Wars extended universe stuff I love, but comic books were mostly out of my, forte, as it were. I like Deadpool. I like Batman. That's normally about most of the extent of my comic life, and some of the Star Wars stories. But some of these kind of jumped out at me, especially last week when they happened. These topics are a little bit old, so you might have heard of them by now, you might not have, but they're still worth a discussion. So, as you guys are watching, I'm looking at my other monitor here. Go ahead and post in the chat, and as I see it, Seamus and I can start introducing and talking about it. So, First topic this week is the new Captain America is now a black guy. So let me get into a little background about this before I, throw it at you. But while Marvel's making a big deal about this, this is not the first black Captain America, actually.
Really?
The first black Captain America was named Isaiah Bradley. He came on in January 2003 in a series called Truth, Red, White, and Black. And now, it was kind of like, as far as I understand it was like an alternate universe thing. So it was like, I'm Captain America, but I'm not the main Captain America, and but so now Marvel's going the full distance, and there's going to be a new guy, and he's going to be the new Captain America. It's not some extended universe thing, it's an alternate universe thing. Yeah. So, but this guy that they're making the Captain America is not some guy from nowhere. So the new Captain America is named Sam Wilson.
Sure.
And he was already a Marvel character. He was actually known as the Falcon. But the reason I brought this up was Marvel. I'm okay with how they're doing it, because the way they're doing it is the old Captain America is more just giving him, the title. He's giving up his shield because, I don't know, something happened to his abilities. He didn't really have superpowers. He had he was the peak of humanity, but he wasn't like Superman. You know what I'm saying? But something happened to that, and so he gave up the title. But do you think it's any coincidence that they chose a black man for Captain America? And do you think it's the right course of is it the right course of action from a liberty standpoint, maybe?
From a liberty standpoint, it's kind of hard to make a call because regardless of what the leftists would like to say, libertarianism does not take any specific stance on race. Obviously, our only thing is non-aggression and that type of thing. But I do find it somewhat obnoxious. I'm not saying it's the wrong choice, and I think it can be done properly. But It depends on why they're doing it. If they're doing it because they really think this is going to be good for the story, then great. But if they're only doing it as a publicity stunt, then quite frankly, I actually think that's kind of insulting to African American people to sort of throw in their face that we're only putting this African American character in there because he's valuable as a marketing tool, not as a character. But if they're doing it because it's really good for the story, then why not? But my question is, what about the films? And what about the Avengers if they go on with that?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. As far as I know, Avengers 2 will still have, I think Steve. I think the Avengers will still have Steve as, like, Captain America. But I think, like, after that, they're going to Sam Wilson. And I agree with you. I think this is, in my opinion, this seems like a marketing stunt, and it is almost insulting to African Americans in the sense that, hey, we're just using you people as a marketing stunt. But at the same time, I still think that this is being handled better than the topic I'm going to get into after this, because at least there's a reason for it. I can't do this anymore. I need you to do this for me. And the Falcon is saying, okay, fine. But the thing that really made me irate coming out of Marvel this week was Thor. Thor, the new Thor, this is Thor now. Thor is now a woman.
Thora, I should call her.
Yes. No, that's the funny part. It's still Thor. Thor the woman.
Interesting.
So they haven't specifically announced how. As far as I know, they haven't announced how this is going to happen. But if you have, it's so hard to think about. I know, right?
I understand your frustration. I think.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's mind-boggling, but it's like, well, first of all, who are they catering to? Is this like just maybe the feminist group? Because first of all, I mean, several things. Usually, comic books have a difficult time catering to feminists in general because most of the female characters are just marketing tools for sex, right? Like, look at Wonder Woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
She wears revealing clothing. But then it depends. Like, what if they're really appealing to the social justice crowd? I don't know much about this. What if Thor is discovering that he's a woman trapped in a man's body or something along those lines?
I feel like it's more just catering to the social justice crowd, but kind of in the wrong way. Like, okay,
there's no right way.
Right. Thor, it's almost like, this is what I said last week, but in my opinion, this is almost disrespectful to the Norse. Marvel has taken a lot of liberty with the mythology, but it's almost disrespectful to the mythology because, okay, I'm not saying it's their property, right? But at the same time, it's like, if they wanted to do a kick-ass Norse female, there's so many other choices. You got Hel, you got Freya. Freya, the Valkyrie Queen. I mean, come on. Queen of the Valkyrie. She could have had her own comic, and I wouldn't be having this discussion right now. Because, you know what? But in Marvel's defense, I will defend Marvel. Because the way they handle the Norse mythology about Thor is, from what I understand, is Thor more seems to be representative of the hammer, whose name I've never been able to pronounce because I don't speak any of the Norse languages.
Yeah.
But it seems like the likeness and power of Thor comes from the hammer itself. He who wields the hammer wields the power of Thor, right? So if they go with, if Thor gives it to, so there's one of two ways, or I would be okay with this. One, the old Thor gives the new Thor to the hammer to someone who just happens to be a woman and says, I can't do this anymore, I need a vacation, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'd be okay with that, because then it's more like I'm passing on the torch as opposed to, well, let's just scrap everything we have and, just Thor, this is new. I mean, okay, the costume's not that bad. It's a female Thor. I mean Thor, Marvel has made Thor a female before, but again, it was more just some of their marketing stuff. Yes, but it was more some of their marketing alternate universe stuffs, kind of like how they do, like, the what if stories about Spider-Man or Batman, or what if Superman wasn't a bad guy, one of those stories. So, but the fact is just, and I think of all places, they announced this on The View, which is like,
so that's how we know it's bad news.
Yeah, it was like, what? But it's like, I know, right? And so it's one of those things that drives me nuts because, like I said, I'm not trying to hate on the fact that they're introducing a new female lead. It's more like, it's so out of left field and it's so disrespectful to the Norse religion which, I mean, they never really cared that much about it, but, I
Well, if they're
mean,
able to make a comic about it though in the first place, you know what I mean? Like,
hmm
I don't think Thor was created to be reverent towards Norse mythology.
no. I mean, but it's like they use it. I mean, DC kind of does it with like the Greek stuff with like, the Amazons and Wonder Woman and stuff like that. But it's like at least, at least they're doing it kind of thematically correct. They're using Amazons, so they're already women. Like
Yeah.
like Marvel's idea was just, kind of out of left field. So I feel like this is a blatant grab towards the social justice crowd, and I don't know how well it's going to work for them, and this is going to sound really petty of me, but I kind of sort of hope it backfires in the sense that just like everyone's like, yo, whoa, I was almost
Yeah.
Christopher Walken there, but,
Don't make it a
don't do it.
woman.
Um, okay, so Shaggy
Yeah.
PC has a question for you.
All right. Yeah, I saw that. I was going to address that. Doesn't watching Thor's a Christian go against Christianity because Thor's not the one and only God? In the words of Captain America, there's only one God, and he doesn't dress that way, as he says in the Avengers. But I'm not. I mean, I'm sure Shaggy PC was sort of being facetious with that. No, it does not go against my beliefs because, again, even though you may believe the Bible is a work of Christianity or a work of Christianity, a work of fiction, obviously I believe that Nordic mythology is fictitious as well as the comic franchise, and I watch plenty of television programming and read plenty of comics and that type of thing that I recognize are fictional. So again, but that is pretty funny. I'm assuming it was meant to be funny.
I'm not laughing at you, but when you said that I think the Thor comics are a work of fiction,
Yeah, why did I have to say it? You know what I'm saying.
I think the Thor comics, no, those happen.
I'm not certain. I'm not entirely certain right now, but I have a hunch that the Thor universe might be fictitious. But I can't prove it's not.
Okay, so I'm going to go up a little bit. Kenji says that, yes, manga is one of the things, I don't read it as much. I keep up on it because, a lot of good mangas get turned into anime, so, a la JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which was a great show. Everyone should watch it if they're weird. But he made a comment under that. He said there's too many women in comics and anime and manga, and I'm like,
Misogynist!
But are there too many? Okay, and anime and manga, I'm going to argue against that because that's half the point of anime and manga is watching hot women doing cool things. But even on a serious note, I mean, can you ever have too many women? No, because they're fictional. I mean, even in real life. I mean, admittedly, times are changing.
Even in real life, women are fictional in real life. I mean, to me they are because I'm a nerd and I hardly ever see them.
But maybe in comics, I think in Western comics, it's hard to say there's too many or not too many. As long as they keep creating new and interesting ones, sure. If they're just, and this goes for DC also, and Dark Horse, and anyone else that's publishing comics, if you're just making women characters just to make women characters, it's the same thing as making black characters just to make black characters. And it's just like, the same thing as making white characters just to make white characters. It's like, why?
Yeah, like the token. But fortunately, in a way, I'm not, believe me, I mean, and most people should already know I'm not one of those check your privilege types from my general attitude that I've displayed, but there is certain privilege in being white, knowing, like, there's never really a token white guy character. Like, I'm never skeptical watching something like, this character's only white, so they can relate to me. Like, I never have to sit there and think.
we don't have Shaft. We need Shaft. The white guy.
I think more of the question with the female, if I could just address this first, with having female characters in manga, I think that it's just the question of, like you said, a lot of it is because they're kind of marketing tools and they're being sexualized. So in that sense, it depends. If you're a feminist, maybe you would actually say there are too many women because they're only being used as sex objects. but it's very suggestive. Shaggy PC commented again. I'm glad we established that Thor is fictitious and the Bible is totally legit. Well, we didn't fully establish that because I never went through with proving it, but I did say that that was my
His
belief.
belief. He
But
didn't.
yes, but yeah, if we actually Shaggy PC, I would recommend that you watch just to give us a little plug. Next Wednesday, Chuck the Liberty Geek is actually going to be on Christianarchy with me and my co-host, and we're just going to be having a general discussion of religion. So I'm very glad that you're engaged with the religious topics and that we could definitely have that discussion. But next week, because let's talk about the more geeky stuff.
I'm kind of excited to do it. I'm not necessarily Christian myself, but I'm interested in learning. I'll go into it on your show because I got two more interesting topics I want to talk about.
Sure.
One of them, okay, so Archie comics. We're all familiar with the Archie character.
Oh yes, I heard about this story. I heard about this one.
Yes. So there was, in case you're not familiar with Archie, like he started off in the Sunday Funnies as like this really cute character that like teenagers could relate to. He's got two girls that love it at the sign of the times he was created. Two girls
Betty and Veronica.
Yes, and he had to choose. So they made a comic series about. I'm not sure why they did this, but it was kind of funny that they did. They made a comic series about his adult life and like the two timelines that he chose the girls converged, and like they made a comic about that. But his very last volume, he died. Sad. Except,
oh god.
One, this wasn't okay. This isn't a spoiler because they announced, like, I think back in January, they announced we're gonna kill Archie. Like, okay, gee, thanks. That's like when they announced that they were gonna kill Robin, and then like nobody cared that they killed Robin, like So, but it's like from the tone as I understand it, it was less like, oh, let's mourn this iconic character, and more let's mourn the fact that we don't have enough gun control in our lives. Like,
yep. The way. Do you mind if I kind of?
Go ahead.
Describe the exact way. Well, for anyone who doesn't already know, essentially what happens is Archie sacrifices his life to protect a gay senator who was shot at by a gun control advocate. Because that's not like a blatantly liberal publicity stunt to get an agenda across. At all. We have Archie comics.
Yeah. Well, so let's see. We have statism. Number one, because he's protecting a senator.
Yeah.
Two, it has to specifically be gay. I got nothing against gay people, but it specifically had to be the gay one, right? I mean, it couldn't be the black one. It couldn't be the white one. It couldn't be the woman one. It had to be the black one. And I can already smell the hate mail. But it's like gun control. Really, I mean, Archie's comic has been used to tackle, social. What's the word I'm looking for? Social issues before.
Absolutely.
But do you think this was appropriate? Not even in like a Christian beliefs toward a way.
No, of course not.
Just like a general, like in the way that they use the medium. Was it appropriate?
Obviously, they could do whatever they want, First Amendment, this, that, and the other, but it just seems so strange because I used to read Archie comics now and then when I was younger, and it just didn't seem like something that that kind of tackled adult topics like that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the adult series
was supposed to be more
adult series.
Mm-hmm.
They are talking about adult topics. I have no clue, but that just seems like. It seems desperate. Like, if they want to do something, if they want to throw some gay rights stuff in there, they want to throw some gun control stuff in there, they want to throw some We Love Our Senator stuff in there, who cares? It's their comic, and it's something that they believe in, that they want to get across. That's fine. But when you throw all that together in such an aggressive manner, and that's the way you kill off an iconic character within a particular series, that's just insane to me. And it's like, give me attention, give me attention, give me attention. That's how I look at it.
And it's like, and they hyped up his death too before this. Like they were saying, oh, we're not bringing him back. He's gone for good. I mean, DC Comics does that all the time. But he's gone for good. This is going to be the one to read because he's going to be gone for good. And then it's like, okay, oh yeah, oh I can't, oh I'm so scared to see how he dies. And then it's just like. He died for a political agenda? It's like, Is that how you want your character to be remembered? Like, let alone the message. Even if this was a message that I agreed with and like a voluntary message, I would still say it'd be extremely inappropriate, and like the movement itself, like if he died for, even let's say he sacrificed himself to protect Porkfest, right? It would still be it would still be inappropriate as hell because
for
it's
Archie.
like, yes, for Archie. Now Archie taking on social issues, right? Let's see. I caught this one at the top of my eye. Beebs says, I'm gay, and I agree that we shouldn't be used as political tokens to push agendas. Yeah. See, so we're not completely 100% crazy.
Because, and I don't, like, of all the gay people I talk to, I've never heard one person say, like, oh yeah, this Archie, like, because this has been something people have been talking about for a few weeks now, and I've not heard one person from the social justice community say, like, oh, this is like a great thing, thank God they're doing it. It's just, it's, again, like I said, it's real left field, and I completely agree. No one should be used as a political agenda. The thing they're doing with the gay senator and Archie is the same thing that we discussed that marketing teams do with African Americans and women. They just use minorities to sell something, and then they turn around and say, look how humanitarian I am. Look how egalitarian I am. I just love everyone. No, you're selling people.
And, I'm going to use this to... how do you gain... Hold on, I'm going to read Shaggy's comment right quick. How do you gain rights that you shouldn't have in the first place as a gay person if you don't use yourself as a token to push the agenda? He's not saying that he shouldn't be pushed... Gay people shouldn't be pushing an agenda. But the problem is that they're being pushed so hard that, like... I think the problem what might argue... He'll probably argue in the chat himself, but I would argue that gays are being pushed not just as a token agenda, but they're almost being pushed as martyrs.
Yes.
It's almost like it's like someone's trying to say the gays need to die to prove the gays are right, and that's completely bullshit.
Actually, Archie needs to die to prove that gays are right, and that gun control is right.
See, Beebs answers Shaggy and says, because I believe in individual rights, not collective rights. Boom.
Boom. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was saying. I think, Shaggy, I'm a little confused by his comment. How do you gain rights that you should have? Oh, that you should. Okay.
Without pushing. Yeah. I mean,
which is an interesting point.
Yes, protesting has always been a thing. I mean, if you don't have it in the first place, you need to protest to get it. Sure, but at the same time, should Chuck? Oh, you're right. I read that wrong. I'm sorry, Shaggy PC. You can't see me pointing at my chest because of my lower third, but I'm sorry. Heartfelt apology.
Now, Chuck, not shouldn't. Should Chuck, should, not should. Yeah, I want to clarify that. I was like...
So one more topic for you. A little... You can almost say it's religious-based, but not really. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I harp on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition a lot. I made sure to do it my very first episode of Liberty Geek. But Wizards of the Coast, you did it again. You did it absolutely again. So they in their rule book for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, they made a thing that says, and I'll read the quote because this is from Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition starter book. And I'll paraphrase. You could also play a female character who presents herself as a man who feels trapped in a female's body, or a bearded female dwarf who hates being mistaken as a male. Likewise, your character's sexual orientation is for you to decide.
So that's definitely some SJW stuff right there.
Yes, not only is that SJW stuff, but as a Dungeons & Dragons player myself, we've kind of already been doing this. Like, Wizards, this didn't actually need to be said because it was already being done at an individual game level anyways. So and you had to know this. It's your freaking product. Yeah. So I mean the way that they worded this is, and the way that they worded it too, it's so SJW, and like I said, we've already been doing this as the players, all right? We've had the female characters. Someone's played a female character at some point. Someone's played a gay character at some point. Someone's played a transgender character at some point. It was already happening with the other editions. There was nothing in the rules for any of the other editions, 3.5 and 4 and 5, which were all under Wizards of the Coast specifically, and even 1 and 2, which were under the old publisher whose name escapes me right now. There was nothing in any of the books that said, you cannot play gay character. You can only play white male character. That was never there.
Only a white, male, cis, heterosexual, Christian character. That is all you're allowed to play.
That was never there in the first place, Wizards. This didn't have to be said. And it didn't have to be put in the book. And I understand it's your book, but really? I mean, if you want to talk about racial diversity, Dungeons & Dragons kind of wins. You know, you got elves, you got dwarves, you got humans, you got halflings, you got catfolk, you got the I almost said Eldrazi, but that's Magic the Gathering. But
don't get confused, Chuck.
I know. It's the same company. That's the best part, though. I mean, they literally could do it if they want. Yeah. But you know, and that's just the 5 that I thought of at the top of my head. Okay, that's not forgetting your vampires, your werewolves, your demons, your gods. I mean, this was already happening, and Wizards, you're trying too hard. 5th edition, even from, if you look at the math for 5th edition, it was already screwed up. I mean, I won't pull up the charts because we only got 2 minutes, but I want to get your take on this. What the hell? What do you think?
It's interesting. You know, just how you're mentioning that people were doing that already. I was never huge into Dungeons and Dragons, but I do understand that it's like role-playing fantasy or trying to be someone you're not. And so in a way, it's like this whole marketing and rebranding thing where they just put a different manual with it or some different words on the box to get people to buy a product that they weren't able to sell originally. Like there's sort of an old joke that, there's this anecdote. I think this actually happened, but I have to look it up. There was somebody who was selling like some sort of square saltine cracker, and then they weren't selling them. So on the box, they turned the cracker, like the image of it, and they renamed it like diamond-shaped crackers. And they sold the exact same thing in a different box, and like more people were willing to buy it. And so to me, that's like, it's kind of the same thing. There's nothing different about the product. It's just you gave people a new way of looking at it.
Okay, to be fair, it's a different rule set. It's a very different rule set from 4th, which was a much different rule set from 3. But my problem was there were never rules. The way they put it in the book was, and I'm going to let this be the final thought before we go. The way they put it in the book, you would almost think that you were never allowed to do that in the previous editions, which is false. The only restrictions you might have had was there might be a class based on alignments, which is not still saying you just because you're lawful good doesn't mean you can't be gay lawful good. I mean, so that's my problem with it, and I'm sorry. I always had the short time slot, so I'm sorry. I hope you got what you wanted to say out today.
Absolutely, there was some good content.
And thank you so much for being on my show. I can't wait to be on your show next week on Wednesday. And you know what, Internet? I'll see you guys later. And whatever that BioWare project that's being teased is, screw you, BioWare. Good night.